See here, beta. See the blood supply of heart. We already know, like we have right and left coronary arteries which are giving blood supply to the heart. So now let us see. See here. Now, as soon as arch of aorta, like ascending aorta, comes from the left ventricle of the heart, see, we have like anterior, posterior aortic sinuses, from where you see we have the origin of this right coronary artery coming from the anterior aortic sinus, left coronary artery coming from the posterior aortic sinus. Okay. Now let us see the course of right coronary artery. Now if you just look at this picture, this chamber is right atrium, which is showing the opening of superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. Very good. Okay, this chamber is right ventricle. Okay, and this at the margin we have left ventricle. Okay, then now when you see behind, again we have two chambers. Now towards this superior inferior vena cava, this is right ventricle and this is left ventricle. Between the two ventricles, this is the sulcus we have. You call it as posterior interventricular sulcus. Similarly, between the two ventricles in front, we have anterior interventricular sulcus. Now you are seeing right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle from sternocostal aspect. And from the posterior or the diaphragmatic surface, we are seeing four chambers: right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. How to identify left atrium? You have the four openings, no? Two, like these are the two pulmonary veins, these are two more pulmonary veins. Yeah, very good. Now see, let us discuss now about these arteries. From the anterior aortic sinus, we have seen this is the ascending aorta from where the right coronary artery has started. Okay, it is running between the actually pulmonary trunk and right auricle. Okay, this violet in color is pulmonary trunk, and this side we will have the right auricle. It comes downwards, okay, forwards, and then it is moving towards the right side. Okay, now it is winding behind and going back, and then it is running between the two ventricles posteriorly to go as posterior interventricular artery. Okay, beta, the course has started like this and it has continued behind and it has continued its journey like this. Now, the right coronary artery, as the name suggests, right, it is chiefly supplying the right atrium, right ventricle, both from the anterior and posterior aspects. Okay, beta. So into the right atrium, you have so many small branches, no? All these are atrial branches. And the very first branch it gives to what, beta? I told you recently, SA node, SA nodal artery. Yeah, which gives its branch to the pacemaker. Okay, so these are all atrial branches which are chiefly supplying the right atrium. Apart from that, you can see few branches are moving towards the ventricle, right ventricle. So these are the ventricular branches. This side, whatever we are seeing are the ventricular branches. This side you are finding these are the atrial branches. Now it is now going behind. Actually, there is an area which is actually crux, CRUX. Crux is the meeting point where the right coronary artery is anastomosing with the left coronary artery. Okay, so this is the anastomosis. Now, coming to the further continuation of the journey of right coronary artery, it is descending downwards, and between the two ventricles, it is continuing as posterior interventricular artery. So this posterior interventricular artery, majorly, it gives blood supply to the right ventricle, and few branches will also go and supply the left ventricle. Chiefly right ventricle, but few branches may also go to left ventricle. Ritika, is it clear?
Okay.
Huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, beta. So this right coronary artery, if you observe, you are finding one branch which is running along the lower border of the heart, no? You call this branch as marginal branch. Marginal branch. Okay, beta? So this is
Okay.
all what is written under right coronary artery. If you read once, you will see all these information. Now we will discuss about left coronary artery. Just see the course from the posterior aortic sinus. It has come. It is again running between the left auricle and the pulmonary trunk. It has run. It is running like this. Then Actually, it will either bifurcate or trifurcate. Bifurcate means it is dividing into two. What are those branches? The bifurcating branch is anterior interventricular branch and circumflex branch. Sometimes it trifurcates. That means it gives anterior interventricular branch, circumflex, and also diagonal branch. It may come directly from the left coronary artery. But most of the times, from the anterior interventricular branch, the diagonal artery is coming as one of its branches of anterior interventricular artery. Is that clear, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Now see here, a circumflex means what is the meaning? It is winding and going behind. That is the meaning of circumflex. Circumflex branch of left coronary artery comes behind. Okay, and the chief blood supply of left coronary artery would be left atrium, left ventricle, but few branches also go to the right atrium and right ventricle. The same thing is applicable for right coronary artery. Chiefly, right coronary artery supplies right atrium, right ventricle, but few of its branches may also supply left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, beta?
Okay.
So the posterior interventricular artery, actually, which is the dominant artery, you see here, cardiac dominance. Right coronary artery is rather small and is not able to give posterior interventricular branch. In these cases, circumflex artery, the continuation of left coronary artery provides interventricular branch. One thing you try to remember, beta, right coronary artery is giving, whichever artery gives this posterior interventricular artery, that is the dominant artery. 99.9% of the times, this posterior interventricular artery comes as a branch of right coronary artery. That's why this is called as the dominant artery when you compare both right and left coronary arteries. Okay, beta?
Okay.
Now, after that, we should know the venous drainage also. So, what are the various veins? See here, this is the sternocostal aspect. You are finding anterior cardiac veins corresponding to the marginal artery. We have right marginal vein, isn't it? Corresponding to anterior interventricular artery, we have great cardiac vein. Corresponding to posterior interventricular artery, we have middle cardiac vein, isn't it? Corresponding to that circumflex artery and its branches, we have posterior vein of left ventricle. So all these veins, okay, like we have small cardiac vein which is following the course of right coronary artery coming behind. So all these names, you should remember. What are those names? Anterior cardiac vein, marginal vein, great cardiac vein, oblique vein of right atrium, then middle cardiac vein, posterior vein of left ventricle, small cardiac vein. Almost all veins are coming and draining into this big venous channel. What is the name of this big venous channel?
Coronary
Sinus.
sinus.
Very good. Where is the coronary sinus opening? Into the right atrium. If you remember the interior of right atrium, which
Yeah,
we
right.
discussed recently, I told you right atrium is having a coronary sinus opening, which is guarded by a valve called as Thebesian valve.
Sedation valve.
Oh, very good. Also called as valve of coronary sinus, if you can't remember better. This was our interior, right? So this opening is actually opening of coronary sinus. That means into the venous chamber of the heart. That is into the right atrium. Along with superior and inferior vena cava, we also have the opening of coronary sinus. Okay. Now, in this question, we are also asked about nerve supply of the heart, beta. It has come as an essay. That means you
Hmm.
should talk about arterial supply, venous drainage, then coming to nerve supply. For nerve supply, see, the heart is supplied by superficial and deep cardiac plexuses. Okay, so that means actually there was a picture showing the plexuses better. Then we can see, like I think in new edition. No worries, but actually at this point where we have iota, you will see all yellow colored lines. If you can recollect from my PowerPoint, which I have used previously while discussing thorax, if you can check with that. Okay, so that means it is a network of nerves which is forming two plexuses like superficial cardiac plexus and deep cardiac plexus, which is supplying the heart. Okay, No, first let us talk about what are the nerves which are contributing in the formation of these plexuses. We know vagus is the parasympathetic nerve, which is very, very important, which is supplying the structures in the thorax and also in the abdomen. Isn't it? Vagus. So right and left vagal branches are contributing. Apart from that, we have sympathetic chain. So that sympathetic chain is present in the neck, like superior cervical ganglion, middle cervical ganglion, inferior cervical ganglion. Okay, that is. No, after cervical ganglia, we have the thoracic ganglion, T1, T2, T3, T4, and T5. So all these are contributing differently in the formation of superficial and deep cardiac plexuses. Now, when you talk about superficial cardiac plexus, so what are the nerves? We have inferior branch coming from the vagus nerve. Okay, then we have branches coming from sympathetic chain contributed from superior cervical ganglion. So these two are contributing for superficial cardiac plexus. Rest all are contributing for deep cardiac plexus. What are those? Superior, middle, inferior cervical ganglion. From vagus, we have superior, inferior branches, recurrent laryngeal branches of vagus. We also have T1, T2, 3, T4, T5, thoracic ganglions. They are all contributing for the formation of deep cardiac plexus. Just by looking at this picture also, you can write so much regarding the nerve supply of the heart. Is that clear, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
So briefly about the blood supply and nerve supply. We'll finish thorax part questions first. Okay, microscopic structure of trachea. What else it is? Rectus sheath. Blood supply of lungs will go with cisterna chyli. Okay, tell me the blood supply of lungs.
Mm,
Bronchial arteries, right, beta?
More
Arteries.
bronchial. Yeah, bronchial.
Bronchial arteries are the branches of which artery? Descending thoracic aorta. Okay, beta.
Okay.
As soon as aorta
Okay.
comes, it will start giving blood supply to that. Okay. Now see here, this is lungs, right? Pulmonary artery. Yeah, this is the bronchial arteries. Hmm? They give nutrition to the bronchial tree to the pulmonary tissue. These arteries that vary in number. They may be size, origin, but usually on right side there is one bronchial artery which arises from third right posterior intercostal artery. Okay. Then on the left side there are two bronchial arteries, both of which arise from descending thoracic aorta. This much if you write also, it's enough better. Blood supply of lung. Bronchial arteries. Okay, right side one bronchial artery
Okay.
branch of posterior, third right posterior intercostal artery. Left side two bronchial arteries. They arise from descending thoracic aorta. Now coming to cisterna
Okay.
chyli is the next question. Do you remember anything about it? Okay, cisterna.
It's an enlarged portion of the thoracic duct.
Ha, yeah, very good. The enlarged part of thoracic duct. Very good. That means the starting point of the thoracic duct is enlarged sac, elongated sac, into which so many lymphatic channels will open. What are those? External iliac lymphatic trunk, internal iliac lymphatic trunk, intestinal lymphatic trunk. Everything will come and drain into cisterna chyli. From here, the lymph will drain into thoracic duct. 1 minute. So these are the lymphatic channels which are like opening in the cisterna chyli beta. Finally, the lymph from here will drain into thoracic duct. So this is for just 2 marks. The information is more than enough. You can draw that picture. It will be highly beaded because it will have valves inside and it has to pump this lymph against the gravity and then it is moving into the thoracic duct. Okay, which will drain into
Okay.
left subclavian vein. Transpyloric vein metaphysis. Okay, now we will come in order, beta. So we have finished the questions which were there in thorax. Now we will move to questions which are there in abdomen, head and neck. Oh, it is, I have opened head and neck. Sorry, I will open abdomen book. Now see uterus. See, I was talking about the position, right? See, this is the female sagittal section, beta. This female sagittal section, this is pubic symphysis. Behind pubic symphysis, we have urinary bladder, isn't it? Behind urinary bladder, we have uterus. If you just look at the uterus, it is not straight line, isn't it? It is bending over the urinary bladder. It is making certain angles. The angle, the body, what is making with a straight line, that body angle is actually called as angle of anteflexion, which is 125 degrees. And this uterus is making an angle with vagina also, that is 90 degrees. So that is angle of anteversion. So we have angle of anteversion and angle of anteflexion. Okay, if you remember, in the female sagittal section, posteriorly we will have rectum and anal canal, isn't it better? Urinary bladder,
Yes, ma'am.
uterus, rectum, anal canal. Then now dimensions and all, they are quite easy. Weight dimension you can easily read, but like 7.5 centimeters long, 5 centimeters broad, 2.5 centimeters thick, 30 to 40 grams in weight. Okay, when you just look at the uterus, it has fundus, body and cervix, right? It looks like this.
Huh.
See, fundus, this is body and this is cervix and this is vagina. Fundus on either side, it has the openings of two fallopian tube. Okay, the body inferiorly to the body we have cervix. Cervix has an opening towards the interior of the uterine cavity. You call it as internal os, and it has a communication with vagina also through external os. Between the internal os and external os, this area is called cervical canal. Okay, cervical
Huh.
canal. This cervical canal will have mucosal folds arranged like fern tree. Like in cold countries, you will see Ashoka tree like pattern, that fern tree. Okay, it is same
Okay.
folded in the form of fern tree. Same like we have arbor vitae cerebelli in the cerebellum. Similarly, the mucosal folds of the cervix are called as arbor vitae uteri. Arbor vitae uteri. Okay, so internal os is
Okay.
opening towards the uterine cavity, external os is opening through the vagina. Okay,
Vagina.
the cervix is, external os becomes loose during pregnancy, and we can actually diagnose pregnancy by doing per vaginal examination, checking the consistency of cervix. Okay, if the consistency of external os is becoming soft, then usually along with urine test and other sonographic techniques, we can confirm the pregnancy. Okay, that is one mode of
Okay.
diagnosing. Okay, the most classical method, checking for the softening of cervix. And about cervix, it becomes usually 8 centimeters dilatation we will see during childbirth to allow the head of the baby to come out through the external os, vagina, and finally through the birth passage. Okay, this is the birth passage vagina. Now, now see here, shape, size, normal position, angulation, I told. Communication, also we have discussed. Parts, we have discussed. Cervix also, I told you much in detail than what is given here. Now coming to the supports of uterus, see here. Now, if you remember, I told you we have false supports and true supports. Peritoneal folds are called as false supports. They are not giving any true support. Okay. The fold of, what are the three visceral organs in the sagittal section of pelvis? Behind pubic symphysis, we find urinary bladder,
Urinary bladder.
uterus. Behind this,
Rectum and anal canal.
very good, very good. See, the fold of peritoneum, which is covering the urinary bladder and uterus. What is the name of the pouch between these two folds? Vesico-uterine pouch.
Vesicular.
Yeah. Posteriorly, between rectum and uterus, we have recto-uterine pouch, which is also called as a Douglas pouch.
Uterine.
Yeah. Also called as Douglas pouch. Okay.
Douglas.
Huh. Okay, beta. Now see here. Now, if you just look at this, there is a broad fold of peritoneum, which is actually not true support of the uterus, which is actually broad ligament. Okay, broad ligament is a big fold of peritoneum which is covering the uterus from all the direction, which is also enclosing the fallopian tube and ovary. This broad ligament will be thickened at the fallopian tube to form a fold of peritoneum of fallopian tube, which is called as mesosalpinx. Meso is the prefix which usually we add to represent peritoneal covering. So the peritoneal covering of fallopian tube is mesosalpinx. Similarly, there is a fold of peritoneum covering the ovary. You call it as mesovarium. Mesovarium. Rest of the peritoneal fold part of broad ligament covering the uterus is called as mesometrium. Mesometrium. So the three subdivisions of broad ligament are mesosalpinx, mesovarium, and mesometrium. Okay, beta? Now, the contents
Yes,
inside.
yes.
Okay, beta. The contents inside the broad ligament are. It will have lot of fat. It will have lot of lymphatics.
Okay.
It will have blood vessels like uterine artery and vaginal artery. Okay, it will have suspensory ligament or ligament of the ovary. It also has ureter. Okay, beta. So these are the structures which are present inside the broad ligament of uterus. Now, apart from that, what we should know, these are the false supports, beta. They are not actually giving true hold to the position of the uterus. Then, what are the true supports which are not letting the uterus to slip down from the pelvic cavity? Is the uterus coming out of pelvic cavity? Is it slipping down outside the vulva?
No.
No. So that means it has few supports which is holding in position, isn't it? First of all, the position of uterus itself is, it is having anteversion and anteflexion. That itself will not allow the uterus to come out through the vaginal opening. That vaginal opening is nothing but vulva opening, vulva. Now, the other supports we will see with the help of diagrams. Now, if you see from down, we have completely the perineal body, okay, the pelvic diaphragm, which they act as firm supports. Okay, perineal body, if you remember, I told you the interlacing of 10 muscles we have. Superficial transversus perineae 2 in number, deep transversus perineae 2 in number, isn't it? Levator ani 2 in number, external anal sphincter we have, okay, bulbospongiosus we have. Okay, so all those muscles interlacing point we have is perineal body. Apart from the perineal body, superficial and deep transversus perineum are 4 in number. Apart from that, we also have a deeper muscle which is called as levator ani. The levator ani, it has components like ischio-coccygeus, pubo-coccygeus, and ilio-coccygeus. Okay, that acts as a hammock. Okay, over that hammock uterus is sitting. Okay, so see, suppose this is the hammock which is here and the uterus is not allowed to come out. So this firm support is actually pelvic diaphragm. So perineal body, pelvic diaphragm. Apart from that, see here, this is the transverse section of the body wall. Okay, this is a front pubic symphysis, behind sacrum. This is complete body wall. Okay, so we have three structures like cervix we have. Okay, then that means this is uterus, continuation is cervix, this is urinary bladder, continuation is urethra, behind we have rectum, anal canal. So from the cervix to the lateral side we have transverse cervical ligament. From the cervix to the pubic symphysis we have pubocervical ligaments. From the cervix area till the sacrum level we have uterosacral ligaments. That means the cervix, like the uterus is held in position. Anteriorly it cannot slip forwards, posteriorly it cannot slip backwards, laterally also it cannot move. That means all the sides it is very well protected by these ligaments. Lower down it is protected by perineal body and pelvic diaphragm. Okay, yeah, angulation. All these factors will maintain the position of uterus. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, beta. Now see here, those were the supports.
Yes, ma'am.
Apart from the supports, now lymphatic drainage is ours, right? It is a very good picture. Yes. See, the fundus part is draining into aortic lymph nodes, upper part of fundus into aortic and lower part into superficial inguinal lymph nodes. Then lower part of the body and cervix, it is draining into external iliac and internal iliac and sacral group of lymph nodes. Okay, beta? Then
Okay.
development actually develops from the uterovaginal canal will be there, beta. So from there you will see the development. Embryology soft copy I don't have. Just refer once, better 2 or 3 lines it will be, and look at the diagram. Okay.
Okay.
So gross anatomy, blood supply, lymphatic drainage, supports and development. Then microscopic structure of trachea. What do you see in microscopic structure of trachea?
Mucosa, submucosa. Okay, no. Trachea.
Trachea, of course, like mucosal lining will be pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Below mucosa, we will have lamina propria, and in the submucosa, we will have tracheal glands. Okay.
Uh,
Outside, we will have the serosa. We have tracheal plates also, no? It's a hyaline cartilage.
mm,
Full hyaline cartilage we will see in the submucosa. And outside, we will have again adventitia. Okay, beta?
okay.
Then development of testis. So for development of testis and uterus, it will share a common diagram beta there. We'll try to see later. Classification of chromosomes. What are the different types of chromosomes we have? Autosomes and
Autosomes
allosomes.
and sex chromosomes.
Okay. Inversion and eversion of foot and rectus sheath we will see. What is rectus sheath?
It covers the rectus abdominis muscle.
Very good. How is it formed, beta? Any idea? Do you remember?
Mm, by the muscles, ma'am.
Yes. Which muscles? Can you name them?
Internal oblique, and transverse abdominis.
Okay. Actually, testis development is given here, beta.
Oh,
Testis, okay, see, it is comprised of spermatogenic cells, cells of Sertoli and Leydig cells. So, spermatogenic series of cells are derived from endoderm of dorsocaudal part of yolk sac. Okay, and cells of Sertoli are derived from epithelial cells, coelomic epithelium. Leydig cells are mesodermal in origin. This much you write, it is enough for testis. Okay.
okay.
Uterus page number, do you remember? Beta? I'll check for the development here. It's not giving me this. Changes are given. Okay. So we were looking for rectus sheath, right? So can you name the
Uh,
muscles of the anterior abdominal wall, Ritika? Fast.
External oblique, internal oblique, and transverse abdominis.
Very good. Any more muscles do we have? Rectus abdominis also.
Rectus abdominis.
Inside the rectus sheath, do you find a very small muscle apart from rectus abdominis? Do you remember?
Pyramidalis.
Excellent, very good. I'm very happy. Okay. There is a question which is called as transpyloric plane for 2 marker beta. So it's an imaginary
Okay.
transverse plane which is referred into anatomical descriptions. It is passing through the tips of ninth costal cartilage and posteriorly through lower part of the body of first lumbar vertebra. Okay, this plane lies midway between suprasternal notch and pubic symphysis. Okay, in between that, roughly hand's breadth below the xiphisternal joint. So it passes through pyloric part of the stomach, hyla of right and left kidneys, fundus of gallbladder, neck of pancreas, and origin of celiac axis and superior mesenteric arteries. So this point you should write for 2 marks better. Okay.
Okay.
Actually,